Welcome to Difficult Conversation Africa broadcast. I present to you the host, Yinka Olaito.
Welcome to Difficult Conversation Africa podcast, a platform where we'll unpack issues that many are afraid to talk about. My name is Yinka Olaito. In today's fast-moving business landscape, a company's value is no longer determined by financial alone. Increasingly, investors, customers, and markets begin to ask for more, that you need to do more as a producer. People look at how your product strategy shapes long-term growth and sustainability. Your design choices, whether in use or experience, functionalities, accessibility, or scalability, can significantly affect your market perception, customer loyalty, and ultimately your company valuation. Beyond this, increasingly, investors, customers, and markets will never forgive your product if it only takes account the financials and profits alone. This episode explores the critical intersection of design, product development, and corporate growth world, showing how strategic product decision can be can hinder or multiply the value if you ignore such issues. It also unpack the fact that design isn't just about aesthetics, it's about valuation too. It highlights how the smallest product decision can multiply or undermine your company profitability. From investors' perspective to customer loyalty, we reveal why design has become so important and is now a hidden currency in today's market. My guest today is Arthur Charles Wick, a marketing innovation specialist with over 2 decades of leading result-oriented marketing and digital agency. Arthur is based in Durban, South Africa, and Arthur, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much. It's my privilege to be on the show. Thank you for the opportunity and the platform.
Thank you. Let's go to, because today our topic revolves around valuation by design, how product decision drive company world. It's important for us to understand, and you be a marketing innovation consultant. I think it will help for you to unpack some of the challenges customer may have. So the first question is, why do you believe design has become such a central factor in company valuation today?
And I think there's a simple answer, but there's a more protracted answer as well. But I think the simple answer is that design is the new currency of trust in product design.
Wow.
It's also the new currency of risk mitigation, if you think about it. Now, I have to just preface everything I'm about to say on this podcast through the lens of somebody that has spent the last 14 years in digital marketing. So when we talk products,
Wow.
I'm going to be speaking primarily about digital products, if that's okay with you.
Okay.
So let me continue. As you rightly said, in the past, valuation was purely financial. People assessed companies by their revenue, their profitability, how much assets they have. But in today's world, in 2025, I think investors are more concerned about growth, firstly, and secondly, about sustainability. So even if a company has great financials, but their product is difficult to use, the product is inaccessible, the product is technologically messy, and the growth of the product is capped. It doesn't make sense to investors. Investors do not want to see that. I think that a company also who has messy technology, whose product is inaccessible, it can't scale, it's also at the risk of being disrupted. And we see this a lot nowadays, that one company comes and does something. I think maybe a good example to use that everybody is globally familiar with is BlackBerry. For example, BlackBerry, as they were by, I think in 2000 2008 they were still a market dominating force. I mean, the iPhone was launched in
Yeah.
2007, but in 2008 they were a dominating force. But to just 2 years later, just two
Yeah.
years later, by 2010,
Exactly.
the iPhone overtook the BlackBerry completely. And it's all about the user experience, user interface, system architecture, etc. And that is really the insurance policy. Design is the insurance policy against future failure, and that is what has worked for the iPhone in the
Hmm.
example I've just made. So I hope that answers your question, sir.
I think so, and I think that some of the points you are making, they are very insightful and they are very deep for everybody who is involved in product development. Valuation is not important, and you can be punished if you do not do it right. Um, the other thing that I'd like to get your view about is beyond aesthetics. How do we design? How do we make design decision to go beyond look and feel to impart growth, scalability, and investors' confidence? Because sometimes people believe that it's only the aesthetic design of the product is more important, but there are other factors that are important. So I say market innovation. How do we go beyond just the aesthetics?
Okay, lovely. Man, design is less about colors, less about creativity, but design is more about business logic today. About business logic. I'm going to break this down into three
Okay.
areas. First area is growth, and that is that good design simplifies the user journey. So every time somebody has to
Mm.
click less, every time a call to action is amplified, they don't have to search through your website to find the call to action. Every time the onboarding process for any digital product is simplified, what you are doing is you are boosting your conversion rates, and that in turn boosts direct revenue, and that is revenue that is powered by design. The second thing I want to mention is scalability, and that is that design includes product architecture. It includes a clean code. So what
Mm.
happens is that if you make poor design choices, your design is clunky, your code is confusing. This creates what we call technical debt. Basically, you you owe your client base more. You owe your client base
Mm.
better as far as the design that went into your product. More than that, investors see this technical debt thing as a ticking time bomb because it will now consume future resources, which is completely unnecessary. But at the same time, it erodes your long term valuation. The other thing is investor confidence, thoughtful, consistent design. It basically tells investors that the design team behind this is mature and they have a very clear vision. It tells the investors that the founders of a product respect its users and therefore they have gone above and beyond to design cleanly and to design for the user and not for themselves or for an income stream. They did it for the user. They are thinking long term and they are building an asset and not just a service.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I'm making some deep, 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 deep revelation about design, and that a manufacturer or a product owner can be punished by the customer if the design is not considering if it is not if it does not have an input of the consumer. Now that you have mentioned the issue of investors, now let's look at design from investors' lens, and the question is when investors evaluate a company, what aspect of produce design or product design or product strategy influence their valuation?
You said the aspects of design that influence the valuation.
From
Okay,
the investors' lens.
awesome. What investors are looking for, I'm very happy that this question is coming at me too because I actually have a product that we've ideated. I've put
Okay.
together an investor book, and I'm busy farming it out to investors right now. So I'm talking to investors all the time. So investors look for evidence of product market fit. They look for the evidence, and the evidence design is the only thing that can basically provide that evidence of good product market fit, but also of strong customer retention. So what investors
Okay.
look for are retention metrics. They look past the initial sign-ups. Investors don't care that you signed up 100,000 people in 7 days. What they're looking at is daily. They look for active users. As
Mm.
entrepreneurs, sometimes we take shortcuts and we want to show an investor in 1 month we signed up 1 million people, but investors want to know how many people use a product on a daily basis. But more crucial than that is they want to know what is the churn rate. How many people have signed up and then dropped off? That is really what they want to know. Because thoughtful design should minimize friction, but it should also at the same time maximize habit formation. And habit formation is the thing that will drive retention. Another thing that investors look for is the expansion potential of a product. Like I said, they look
Mm.
past the initial signups. They assess the product's architecture to look for
Mm.
its ability to integrate or to have more features added to it without rebuilding the foundation of that product. That's what investors are looking for, because poor design basically means that every new feature will have to go back to the drawing board. We'll have to start building from scratch and fix the foundation. And then what that does is it extend development times, it extend the time you take to rebuild or build the product. And that those it impacts retention metrics. The third thing investors are looking for is accessibility, but also localization. And basically,
Okay.
is your product accessible to a broad market? Is it built in a way that allows for it to be easily translated for other markets, but also easily customized for other markets? And these are the design choices that basically give investors an indication of what your larger addressable market looks like, or your total addressable market. They call it TAM in investor speak, total addressable market. These things, accessibility, localization, integration, also retention, basically tell investors that this is your total addressable market. And that is one of the key things that forms part of a valuation model for any product.
Okay. Thank you, Arthur, for that. Localization and beyond the number, beyond the clicks, it is the engagement and number of buy-in that investor care much than all that. So we're looking at the issue from the customer lens. And the question I want to ask you is this. For customer loyalty factors, what ways can thoughtful product design directly contribute to stronger customer retention and lifetime value?
Okay, I think there are two things there.
Yeah,
Um,
I know.
the first thing is anticipation in design. You have to be able to design needs
Okay.
to anticipate what the customer needs before they even realize it. Because at the end of the
Okay.
day, what it all boils down to is emotional engagement. Customers
Okay.
don't stay with a product because its features are cheaper. Customers stay with a product
Okay.
because the product makes their life faster, easier, or better. One of those three.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there has to be anticipation in design. You have to be proactive. Things like
Okay.
when you make a payment and the app asks you, can we save your payment details for maybe future payments? Things like that.
Okay.
Like what is it? Amazon is also a good example. If you've bought a particular product, it would recommend maybe a complementary product or a supplementary product, etc. But what this does is it creates a feeling in the customer of being understood. No, this brand, this company, the creators of this product understands me, and therefore I'm going to stick.
Okay.
So that creates stickability at the end of the day. The other one is onboarding and habit formation. So the first week of any product is normally the most critical. The first week after you've launched the product, you've designed it, you've put it out there, it's good. So in that first week, what you want to happen is a very smooth onboarding flow. You want that to happen because what that does is it ensures it ensures that the customer in using your product gets to his aha moment very quickly or in the fastest possible
Okay.
time. It is when they reach that aha moment in terms of this is what this product can do for me. That's basically when the retention sets in and you start locking in what is called lifetime value. So that's where that's basically the starting point of retention. When a customer sees how this product can enhance whatever it is they need it for, or it makes their life easier, faster, or better, and they realize that. But it's also a clunky or a horribly designed product is a fast track to customer churn. So you,
Yeah,
so you
thank you,
want
Ator.
I like the part that you said that a product design must lead customer into a aha moment, so spur in engagement, and I think that is really important. Product designer need to look at that critically at the launch. If there's no aha moment for customers, the product is likely to fail, and I think that is very important point that you have stretched. We know there are sometimes that we make mistake, and there's what we call strategic mistakes in product design. So, what are some of the common product design or decision making misstep that end or reduce company worth?
man. I think the single biggest mistake that people make is they prioritize short-term features over long-term architecture.
Mm.
I think that's
That's
the
very
single
important.
biggest mistake. Single biggest mistake, but that mistake also can be maybe broken down a little bit. One of the things is what is called feature sprawl, where you would make several changes to a product for one client. Just one client basically gave you feedback, and now
Mm.
you make changes to suit that one client. But those changes doesn't necessarily fit the overall product philosophy. So what this does is it creates bloat, it creates
Okay.
complexity, and also it makes for a confusing user experience down the line when you look at just one client. The other one is I spoke earlier about something called technical debt. When you owe your client as far as design that goes into the product. One of the things here is when you ignore this technical debt, when you delay the necessary code cleanup, the reconfiguration of code, um, all because it doesn't generate short-term revenue. So you decide, ah, this I can push this to the side. It's not going to make me money now, and this leads to instability down the line. It leads to slower development cycles. It
Mm.
can lead to massive devaluation as well as far as investors are concerned, especially the ones that are going to do due diligence on
Wow.
you at some point. Um, the third thing in this breakdown is focusing on volume over velocity. Sometimes you measure success by the number of
Mm.
features released, but not by the number or the speed and the quality of the design decisions you make. I think it's important to
Okay.
focus more on the design decisions rather than just pushing out features, one feature after the other, and then next thing you sit with bloated architecture, something that people can't use. They need a truckload of data just to use one feature. And yeah, those are some of the things that um, end up reducing your company's
Uh,
worth.
uh, yeah.
Yeah. I like the part you talk about value and velocity. And I think that will now move us to the next question, where we're talking about measurement, metrics, and measurement. Um, it's very important to measure progress, but there are metrics that count. What kind of metrics do you really think is important that a founder or product leader measure and communicate the value? How can they? How can founders and product leaders measure and communicate the value that design brings to the business. Meaning that now that I'm a product designer, what are the metrics? What are the metrics and the measurement as a product designer or as a product leader? How do I measure and how do I communicate such metrics to the consumer at large?
Okay, lovely, man. I've been in the game a long time. Started in 1998, so I know that there are people out there who prefer a beautiful user interface over something that solves a problem or performs a certain
Okay.
function. So I would like to say that design activity needs to be translated into business outcomes, and
Mm.
not just a beautiful user interface. And here you have to focus on things like return on investment for design. You need to measure a conversion rate lift. If a design change increases signups by 5%, that is something that you obviously want to measure. Which means another design tweak could increase signups by 10%. So design ROI is very, very important to measure how that design change or reconfiguration impacts the return on that investment. Then there's obviously cost reduction, which is kind of the flip side of design ROI. You want to do things for um, your design documentation reduces development timelines and also reduces bug reports, because what happens then is if you can track those things, you can cut down on engineering cost. So it's very important that you look at cost reduction. Then there's the support load. How much does this put on your team? If you look at measuring, for example, the amount of support tickets that your support team processes on a monthly basis, and how you can reduce that by just making simple design changes, or how design changes can reduce the load on your support. Like in the beginning, I said about onboarding, there has to be a smooth onboarding flow. So something like a smooth onboarding flow basically causes less confusion, which means there's less operational cost there, and that in turn would then boost the profit margin. Then there's a thing called time to value as well. Time to value
Okay.
just measures is a measurement of how quickly a new user can achieve their very first successful outcome. Remember, some products are designed to achieve more than one outcome. So the faster a user can get to his first outcome, that is basically time to value. So that is also something that has to be measured, because faster time to value means higher retention, but it also means longer retention and therefore longer lifetime value.
Thank you very much for the feedback. Because of our time, we'll have to let's look at this question before we now round up finally, maybe with another question. Let's look at design thinking. Design thinking is very vital in product design. And most people take that for granted. And therefore, I'm asking you, as a marketing innovation expert, um, what role does design thinking culture? We are looking at design thinking culture. What practical step can companies take to embed design thinking into their organization DNA?
Okay, man, just off the top of my head, I think design thinking or design in itself needs to become a language inside any company. But more than just a language, it needs to become a collaborative language, a language that everybody speaks across the company. In most businesses, you find that you have sales, you have marketing, you have operations, you have support, and then you have design. These are all different silos, and that should not be the case. Um, Everybody should basically speak design. Everybody should speak marketing. Everybody should speak sales, support, etc. So here, what we have is something called multidisciplinary ownership. Sorry, you need to embed designers into every other facet of the business. put the designers into engineering, put designers into marketing, into sales, into ops, etc. Because design decisions shouldn't just come from a brief. Design decisions should come from designers being in direct contact with the people, the end user of the product, the end user of the system or software, whatever it is, and understanding the pain points of those people from a first user engagement vantage point. The other thing that design thinking culture can benefit from is prototyping. Prototyping. What companies do is
Okay.
they add a feature and then they roll it out. And then what happens is that feature makes another feature fail, and then another feature fail, etc. Where they should have just rolled it out as a cheap prototype, maybe something, call it lo-fi prototype. Maybe just roll it out to a segment of the market and not across the entire system. Maybe to your most active users, say your 10,000 most active users, roll this feature out just to them, prototype it, get feedback from them, see how they interact with it. And then, because what that does to us is also a cost reducer. You don't spend the money deploying that across the entire system, but it also forces your teams to test assumptions cheaply before sinking a whole lot of resources into development. The third one
Yeah.
is customer immersion. Basically, every single employee across every single uh, division of a particular business, they need to regularly engage with customer feedback and with support calls. It is very important that you understand how the customer thinks, what the customer wants, and how the customer speaks when they talk back to you guys. Because what this does is it grounds every decision from sales to strategy to UX in real world human needs. And that is the most important thing. If your product based on its design doesn't meet real world human needs, you are basically wasting your time.
Thank you, Ato, for sharing your knowledge. We really appreciate it. Just one sentence. If you are going to advise a startup owner, on this, what would be your advice as you close? Just one sentence.
Man, I would say embrace artificial intelligence. A lot of people have been misled by saying
Okay.
artificial intelligence is here to take your job. I think artificial intelligence is here to make you better at your job. What you need to learn to
Mhm.
understand is to learn how it works, what it is, and how it can help you rather than fighting against it.
Thank you, Ato Charles, for your insight today, and thank you for opportunity to share your knowledge. Ato Charles is a South African-based marketing innovation specialist with over 20 years experience in digital agency, leading award-winning digital agency. And to all our listeners, we want to say thank you for listening to this episode. Don't forget that you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's always there. Do also forget that you can also go to our podcast website, www.difficultconversationafrica.org, and then you can always DM us in all our social platforms. We are always willing to listen. Thank you, and see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening to this episode. For inquiry, please send an email to info@difficultconversationafrica.org. Telephone 0809 591. Please follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Difficult Conversation Africa. See you soon.